So Daniel, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Good.
I thought we should talk about first of all your faith on your calf. I think that's quite original.
Well, you've got some quite nice tattoos there yourself.
Yeah.
Some nice shadowing ones there in the arm.
Yeah. Well, this is actually the girl from Faith.
Oh, really? That's quite coincidental then. I just got mine knowing that just before I came in here.
Yeah, exactly.
So, have you been in London long?
Probably about 5-6 days now, I think. Yeah.
So it's obviously not your first time over here.
No.
So you've seen all the sights and.
You know, there's still things that I would love to see. Like I haven't had a chance to you know, I love the National Museum here.
Yeah.
You know, and I went to that once, and my daughter's here right now, so I kind of was hoping I could get some time tomorrow and show her all the dinosaur bones. And isn't that where it's at, the History Museum?
Natural history, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's quite patriotic out there at the moment. You've probably noticed all the flags and stuff.
Yes.
The Olympics going on.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed they're putting up some flags in front of the hotel right now.
So you've got a new album coming out
Yeah.
on the 16th of July, but before we get into that, talk us through the year so far. What's been going on?
Very little until about probably about a month and a half, 6 weeks ago. We started doing the promotion in the U.S. and everything's just been going like crazy. It's been amazing how many people have actually welcomed me back. It's really been quite refreshing, you know. And you know, making the record, I had I took up quite a large hiatus, you know, for 5 years before I decided it was time to, you know, put a collection of songs together. So there was I had a lot of time to kind of like, you know, reorganize and kind of come out with a different attitude, you know. And you know, I went through a bit of a long divorce while I was home, and you know, 2.5 years long, which is a long time to get divorced.
Very long
know,
time.
But in LA, that's like quick, considered quick, you know. So
they like to drag it out.
Well, we'd love to drag it out in LA. Yeah, how much money?
Prolong the pain.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's probably about a 75% divorce rate in LA. That's what I always laugh about. So, yeah, so you know, coming off the back of that, you know, it was pretty depleted, you know, pretty burned out and a little bit disenfranchised, and so it took me some time to kind of like get my wheels rolling again. And but once I started, it almost was quite cathartic, you know, the idea of writing music again, you know. So that's kind of what I've been up to for the last little while.
Because I mean, physically and emotionally, it must be quite draining to create an album and to do, you know, the work that goes along with releasing a new record.
Yeah, I mean, it can be, but because I spent so much time away, you know, I built up so much material, you know, and I think, you know, sometimes the breaks between the records, I think a lot of times the record label, you know, you finish and then you have about 6 to 8 months before you got to go back and, you know, make another record, and I can't imagine, you know, putting it, you know, cranking them out like that. So I had the real luxury of taking a lot of time before I put this record together. And you know, when you think about it, 5 years is a long time, and you know, there's only 10 songs on the record, so you do the math, man, that's like 2 songs a year really when I'm writing, right?
So do you feel re-energized? Do you feel like it's the perfect time for you to come back?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I really feel like I've sort of grown up, you know, a lot, and a lot of the stuff that I sort of took for granted and the people I kind of took for granted and whatnot on the first record, you know, just wasn't completely, you know, happy about being in the spotlight, you know. And I never realized, like, until I got there, you know, I mean, you could always say that. You see people that say to me, I really want to be in the spotlight. And, well, until you get in the spotlight, you don't really know if you're going to want to be in the spotlight. And it turned out for me that it wasn't my, you know, favorite thing to do. You know, I feel like my life was just way out of balance, you know, and I didn't have any time for family. I had no time for friends. I had no time for my home. I had no time for, and that wasn't something that I found conducive to a healthy lifestyle. So but this time, I kind of like I've had a better balance of life because, you know, even my young daughter is here with me in the UK now. So, you know,
That must be nice.
It's great. You know, I get to speak to you and I get to pretend I'm a rock star, and then I get to go home and up to the apartment and clean, you know, change her diapers. You know, so there is that sort of funny dichotomy, but at the same time, it really balances you out as a person. You know?
So what was the point that you thought, okay, well, now is the perfect time? You know, after such a long hiatus, what was the thing that brought you back?
It was really I have a 9-year-old daughter as well, and you know, she said, I was playing piano with her one day, and I have this beautiful big piano in the living room, and we were playing, and she plays, and she kind of like actually writes her own little songs and stuff. And so I sometimes,
like father, like daughter.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really trying hard to like push her in another direction. And she said to me one time after school, it was funny because, you know, she didn't really know who I am until maybe in the last couple of years. She's started to be a little more conscious of what Daddy does, and then seeing him on TV and whatnot. And she said, Daddy, and I mean, this is truly the quote was almost like, Dad, I hope that you can go back and make another record soon, because it's kind of hard for me to go to school and have a has-been for it to bad, you know what I mean? So, and she was like,
what a blow.
I know, it's a total blow, and I'm like, oh, really? She was, everybody talks to you, they talk that Dad Day's old and you're almost a has-been. I'm like, all right, I'll show them. So, you know, that wasn't the only thing, but there were a lot of people in my life that were, at first, you know, happy that I was home, and now are kind of like pushing me out the door again.
Time to go. Time to be on the road again.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the album, because it's out on 16th of July over here in the UK. It's called Turn On the Lights. Right. Talk us through the record and how it came to be and what it's all about.
Well, I you know, really importantly is for me is the record, first of all, is for everybody, you know, and when it comes to writing music, for me, it's very important that I really kind of like take in an audience to consideration before I write the music, you know. Days for me of that sort of self-centered, narcissistic, you know, self-tortured singer-songwriter, you know, writing the songs, like everybody scratches their head and like going, what is that about, you know? And so it's really a collection of songs that are just almost like a personal diary, but yet I really put my heart into like making sure people could relate to it, and, you know, that everybody could see themselves in at least one or two of the songs. And that's more difficult to write, I think, than the sort of other way around, the more negative record. But I wanted something positive, man. I want positivity in my life, and I really, I have a lot of boundaries now with my setup with people, and then, you know, if someone's not good for me or people, I kind of discard them, and so the record was easy to make and make really positive. You know?
So you've had the time to grow, so would you say that comes through in the latest album?
I think so. I mean, I think that the subject matter is a little bit more grown up. I think, you know, I've had some time to grow up, and I needed to grow up. I was, you know, I was like a 35-year-old brat, you know, before, and you hit 40, and it's like, you know, you gotta kind of like take that into consideration. You know what I mean? It's like time to grow up, really, you know, and so yeah, I think. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think that I've grown up a lot, and I think it comes through in the music. You know, I've stripped away a lot of the instrumentation. Yeah. You know, there's not a lot of big, grandiose string parts, and you know, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I wanted to make sure that the vocal and the lyric and the sentiment was there, and then I used the minimal amount of instrumentation to sort of go around that, so that it was there for, you know.
It definitely does sound a lot more stripped back to your previous releases.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot more focus on your vocals as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Howard Benson obviously had a huge part of doing that. You know, he moved quickly. We went through this record in 6 weeks. You know, and that's for me is a very fast album. You know, I'm used to working, you know, with Linda Perry. We did a record in 4.5 months. So, you know, twice as long at least. So I think when you have less time to make a executive decision on whether or not it's right or wrong, and you just move it and go to the next song, it can be a benefit. You know, it really can.
So it's quite a personal record. You know, there's a lot of the theme is very sort of love orientated.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of themes within the track listing. Is there any one track or tracks that are more personal to you than others?
I think Come Home, probably. Come Back Home is probably was the most personal track to me, based around, you know, I spent a long time away. I really longed to be home, you know, with my family, and there were birthdays that I was missing, and, you know, Christmas here or there that I missed, and it starts to wear on you after a while, you know, and as being a father, it was important for me to be in my kid's life, and so that song, I think that song is probably my most personal track. I also spent some time with the military and Navy in San Diego, spending time on the nuclear subs and going on some missions with them, and so I've been really involved with them, and you know, the kids on that boat, you know, they're out to sea for 8 months and very dedicated to their jobs, and so I've always been, you know, so they inspired me to really write Come Back Home, but then I kind of incorporated my own life into that as well.
So are there any songs on that didn't make the cut? Obviously, you know, you're quite a prolific songwriter, and you know, you always hear of many songs not really making the final cut on you know, artists' albums. Was there anything that you wish had have been there that you didn't have the time to do?
I think, you know, I don't think so. I mean, it's funny you call me prolific. I find I'm not very prolific as a songwriter. I find I'm a bit of a procrastinator, and I don't write a lot of songs. And you know, there's only, I think, 13, 14 songs in the whole gap that I started writing, you know, the period, and you only kept 10 of them. So there's a few that I think could have made it to the record. There's one called Elevator that I thought was kind of cool, but we didn't add that one. Maybe on the next one or something.
Maybe it could be a B-side.
Yes.
Somewhere down the track.
Yeah.
So, where do you get your songwriting inspirations from? I mean, because the album's quite personal. Do you take it from real life events or?
Yeah, I think if you want to be honest about writing and you know, be truthful about what you're putting on record, then you have to draw from some personal events, you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think coming out of the divorce, I was really longing to have feelings that I wasn't, you know, the emotions and things that I wasn't feeling, and you know, I felt quite like a piece of just dead wood, you know, and so I did have to draw a lot from the experiences before I wrote, but again, I really tried hard to make it more universal than just about me, you know.
So do you feel like you've achieved everything that you wanted to with the release of this album?
I think I'm really proud of the record, you know. I don't know if I can say that about other records I put out, but this one, for some reason, I feel like it's upbeat and it's light, and you can't take it too seriously. And when I think of it, those terms, and I use those expressions, it's like that's who I am. I mean, I'm quite light. I'm only 165 pounds. I'm upbeat, and for God, there's no way people could take me seriously. And I think that's a great reflection of who I am, and I think that's on the album, reflected on the album too. So.
So what would you say you're like in the studio? Would you consider yourself to be a perfectionist?
I think I used to be.
Yeah.
You know, but again, when you take, you know, Cupid was being released, it came out in the U.S., and while they're gunning for this certain date, then I had to have my record finished at a certain time, and that almost was at first what I would think would be something that would be, you know, a bit of a, you know, detrimental. You know, I thought it was going to be a problem. It turned out to be kind of a blessing because it allowed me to have to let go of a lot of the ideas that I had, and I ended up hiring, you know, these guys like Josh Freese are on the record, and Tim Pierce is on the record, and Marco's on the record, and these guys are the best of the best, you know, and so you bring the music that you think, you know, the song, I usually demo my songs up quite a lot, like not just a few things, but once I got into the studio environment, I just had to kind of sit back and like trust the process, you know, and realize, okay, these are the best players in the world, so how can I really be dictating what goes on in the studio, you know, because whatever they're going to deliver is going to be a lot better than what I had, and it turns out it was, and the record sounds the way it does because of those guys and not because of me.
So I suppose it's a matter of trusting the people that you've got working alongside you.
Yeah, otherwise what's the point? I mean, it's not if you've got like Josh Pierce playing drums on your record, it's probably not the greatest idea to tell him how to play a hi-hat and drum, right? You probably want to let him figure that out on his own, right?
So Cupid's the lead single. It's the one that you've chosen to represent the album. Talk us through that track. How did that come together?
It started off with a friend of mine playing a cajon, which is like a box sort of drum that you sit on, and he was just playing this beat, and I was just messing around with, hey, oh, I was just doing that kind of stuff with it, and it, like, at first I thought this is the stupidest thing, like, cheesy thing, but we just kind of started developing the song around that, and then before I knew it, you know, we had a really great melody and a hook, and I started writing from that perspective, and then, you know, we came to the subject matter again. It was just really about, you know, having that relationship with someone, and I decided, like, wouldn't it be cool if people could just meet and stay together and, like, not always have this, you know, and so you kind of, like, regardless of your character defects, you sort of still are in love, and you still work through that relationship into the very end, and you know, I think that's kind of how they used to do it when I was a kid. You know, my parents, you know, they fought all the time, you know, but they managed to make it work, and now it's like, you know, like I said in LA, it's kind of funny. It's like you have one argument and you're like phoning your lawyer the next day, you know. So
is that 75% for you?
There's a 75% for you, exactly.
So the album's quite romantic. I mean, you must have played Cupid at some point in your life.
Yeah.
Matchmaker?
Nah, I think a part of our ego, as writers, is like we try to incorporate things that we wish we were, and I'm a pretty shy guy. Like, I mean, I come off okay when I'm interviews, and when I'm on my own, I'm a very antisocial person, and not because I like to be, but because I'm shy, and I think I've always wanted to be like that, but I'm not. So it's like, you try to write, pretend, and get to a place where you're being. But yeah, Cupid, nah, not a matchmaker.
No.
No.
So, with the promotion of the new record, are you planning any performances over here in the UK to promote it?
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing scheduled at the moment, but I mean, I've kind of made it no secret here. I've been talking to a lot of people, and if you review my probably old interviews, you'll know how fond I am of touring in the UK. It's my favorite country to play live in, and it always has been, just based on fans here are so amazing. And I do have, in my mind, I think we're sort of, what I've been told is we're sort of thinking about maybe being in January, February, if I can't get here before. I think it might be a little early if I start earlier than that. But,
so how do you find the fans over here compared to the ones back in the US and Canada?
They just know music. They know music from their heart. They know it. It's a different vibe. I can't explain it. It's like they have they care about your lyric. They care differently about what the message is, and they know it, and they can sing the song back to you.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is, or maybe it's just my perception of it. But even if it is my perception, and it's only my perception, then in my heart I know it to be true, and I feed off that. I feed off the audience here. It's like incredible to play for.
So I've got two last questions for you.
Yeah.
What's the most rewarding thing or the most important thing that you've learned about yourself as an artist over the last 12 years it's been since you released your debut?
I think the most important thing I've learned is that I can be honest, and I can talk about who I really am, and not try to edit that in order to get more popular. In other words, I don't try to say things that or do things that I think that are really out of my character, but the media might pick up on that. I think that's really important for me. That's one thing, and I think the other thing is just being a little bit more honest about things, and not giving a shit, about what people think I should be or do, and being able to set boundaries. I set boundaries with people now, and they don't tell me. I don't let people tell me what to do anymore. That's been so refreshing.
That's good. Very noble as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can let people push you around to a certain extent, but and I mean, I do the work. The work's presented to me, and people say, you got to do this, this, and this, and this, and I'm happy to do the work. I love getting, it's a blessing for me to be able to talk to you. I'm very grateful, but I'm not going to do things that aren't healthy for me, or I'm not going to do 19 days straight of promo for the sake of selling 10 more records.
Got to keep your identity.
A little bit, yeah. You gotta. It's like I said before. It's a balance, And if you have that balance if I have that balance with my home life, if I don't have a family member or people at home being very, very sad, and because I said I was going to come home 2 weeks ago, and I'm not coming home because all of a sudden all this other stuff came in, that's not right for me, And then that makes me unhealthy, and so the balance of having my family and being able to do the work. I can go all day if that's the case.
Yeah. So aside from the promotion of Turn On the Lights, what else have you got in the pipeline for 2012?
I don't know yet. I try to stay really present in my life. I really believe in doing the work and serving the work, and but I don't make projections.
Keep it spontaneous.
What's that?
Keep it spontaneous.
Well, yeah, just I think a lot of times when you project, and you're like, okay, what else do I have coming? You can really set yourself up for disappointment, So I just live it one day at a time. I know that sounds cheesy, but it really works when you do that. If you just okay, here's today, and then we'll talk about tomorrow.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for
sir.
chatting with us.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's nice talking to you.